What up? What up? What up? What up? What up, y'all? Wednesday night. What is it? 8:06 p.m. Try and get like an hour in. Try and stay. Yeah, we get about an hour in today. Depending on how I'm feeling, I may run through the whole gamut. If not, I knock the rest out tomorrow. But someone's sitting right with me after I did yesterday's episode about baby mama culture and Chief Davis. I said, I don't know too much about the lady. And she was just so stern faced, and she had all the right answers for everything. I'm usually a good judge of character, great judge of character. It's one of my gifts. So, the black Kojak that I am, I went and started digging. And what I unearthed this morning, all while I was at work, got me even excited to actually do an episode tonight. And I was just wondering, why is this being played this way? And again, like I said, I understand when you go down the rabbit hole and through the looking glass, everything that's up, it's down. Everything is flipped upside down. I understand I'm operating in the twilight zone. I'm in bizarro world. I get that. But what I'm having a hard time understanding is CJ, how Chief CJ Davis was even hired. Now I'm gonna start off first with, you know, the welcome message from Memphis Police Chief Cyril and CJ Davis. Here at MPD, our number one priority is to provide public safety. Our department is committed to working with the community to combat crime by utilizing community policing. Now, that was unity policing. Well, that was unity in what I saw. The little glimpse I saw on that tape. Well, video, because again, still haven't saw it. Still don't know if I'll ever see it, but just not into trauma porn at this stage of my life. Let me check out of this. I don't get no more alerts from that. Now, upholding the law and preventing, detecting, and investigating criminal activities. I encourage you to browse our website and familiarize yourself with the various dimensions and opportunities available within the Memphis Police Department. Okay, well, let me go browse then, Chief. Memphis Police Chief Cyril and CJ Davis has over 35 years of experience in a law enforcement profession. Okay, she's very well seasoned, man. Very experienced to have a job. I get it. Being focused on holistic wraparound services and transformational policing for crime reduction. Holistic. Davis' research driven work is strongly influenced by the practical application of the latest tools and technology, predictive policing, leadership development, and all important community engagement. She began her career within the City of Atlanta Police Department, where she learned the importance of forging relationships with Atlanta's diverse community. With diverse, no more cursing, she means the Negro who goes to work the 9 to 5 and the dope dealers. She was assigned to a variety of specialized assignments as a young patrol officer and quickly moved through the ranks, working as an investigator and licenses and permits. You forget it. Supervisor in background and recruitment, special victims, executive officer to the chief, public affairs, homeland security, and organized crime. Now, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but this lady gets around literally and thick. Now, I'm not going to say that. As a commander, she led the special operations section, which included SWAT, mounted patrol, motors, helicopter unit, vice and narcotics, red dog unit. Ding, 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 ding. Heard about the red dog unit, even when I was in high school. Jump Out Boys. Heard about it listening to rap songs. Now, when all right, and there go Livy again. As usual. Gotta be every episode she come and join us, huh? Once I saw that she led the special operations unit and was the leader of the Red Dog unit, then I said, okay, now I need to dig a little deeper then. As if she was the leader of the Red Dog unit, then this ain't her first rodeo in terms of beating the hell out of people and doing what she was doing to unarmed black men and even putting innocent black men in jail. So that sent me to start investigating her time in Atlanta. Now, where we will finish though is, in addition, she was the internal affairs commander, airport section assistant commander, and served on executive loan as a project manager to the mayor's office. After her promotion to deputy chief, she led the strategies and special projects division, overseeing the department's new video. So now, I said, that's a hell of a resume. You did all of that. Why aren't you the police chief in Atlanta then? How would you end up in Memphis, not Atlanta? Okay, so let's take this screen down. See you later. And let's pull the next screen up, which is where we found out why she left Atlanta. She was fired from the Atlanta Police Department in 2008 for her alleged involvement in a sex crimes investigation into the husband of an Atlanta police sergeant, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Two detectives accused Davis of telling them not to investigate Terrell Marion Crane, who was married to Sergeant Tanya Crane, after the police department obtained photos of him with underage girls. Now, not the backbone of the community, hiding someone else again being taken advantage of. Let's not talk about black on black crime. That is what the ladies, the cock tall tail ladies, the cock tall tail queens told us yesterday, correct? This is a married woman, a mother, the backbone of the community, and two detectives said she told us, hey, let's do a cover up. Found the sergeant's husband with photos of underage girls. Federal grand jury later indicted Terrell Crane on child pornography. He pled guilty to one count of child pornography in 2009, the newspaper reported. Now, again, when you start dealing with child pornography, I already told you I'm out. Now, those rules are weird, so I don't know if we talking pedophilia, child pornography, which is the worst of the worst, or he was in messing around with 16, 17-year-old girls. Those rules can be slighted. Either way, man broke the law. No excuse for it. It is what it is. The indictment was issued after Atlanta police took no action in the case, and a subsequent investigation by the city pointed to Davis as the reason. Davis was then demoted from major to lieutenant before being fired from the force that she joined in 2008. Yet, it does not say on that Welcome to Memphis PD in her mission statement, it does not state right there in all of the great things she did in Atlanta, hey, yo, I got fired because I hid my co-worker's husband's affairs or his dealings with underage girls. And what's even more amusing and interesting is, why is that not being talked about right now? Why are we not really digging into who Police Chief CJ Davis actually is right now? Why is this all just completely on Tyree Nichols? I think we all know why. Double hell, she could be a triple minority for all we know, but definitely a double minority. So then I had to go and we had to start digging even deeper. Now, they do state that despite her history as a careless investigator, she still became the first Black female chief in Memphis in 2021. These people are trying to fill quotas. Except I keep telling you, these conversations still get back some to what I was telling you 2 years ago. They don't want equality of opportunity. They want equality of outcome. See, they don't care when they get handed things. Don't matter to them at all whether they deserve it. They're going to take it. They're going to beat you over the head with it. They're going to tell you how great they are, which is fine. With her credentials, she deserved it. Unfortunately, when you're covering up your superior's husband's sex crimes and dealings with underage girls, how are you even on anybody's force again? How did you ever get hired again? But that's neither here nor there. Because then what we have to then get to is, what actually happened in '09. He was sentenced to 10 years and 1 month in jail, which means they found some heinous stuff. And they don't tell him what was destroyed either. Don't let that go over your head. The FBI blasted Atlanta's police force as unforgivable at the time for allowing the child abuse, which involved at least 11 girls, some as young as middle school age girls to go unchecked. Attorney David E. Namias said the case goes back a number of years, which makes the list of victims longer and the facts of the case even more disturbing. This defendant sexually exploited numerous young girls, and that unforgivable criminal conduct went unchecked for years, even after being brought to the attention of the Atlanta Police Department. My God, my God, my God. Mm, mm, mm. Why hast thou forsaken me? Crane's wife, who was a sergeant working with Davis, also admitted to finding and burning some of the child porn photographs her husband had taken of the victims. A follow up investigation by the city then placed the blame squarely on Davis. She was demoted from major to lieutenant before ultimately being fired from the force in Atlanta. She then challenged the decision before the city's civil service board, who reinstated her. But in 2016, she decided to retire herself from the Atlanta force. So, see, she retired, and then what did she do? Then took up a role as police chief in Durham, North Carolina, and had called for sweeping police reform despite her previous botched jobs in Atlanta. So you retired. You didn't resign to accept that position. You retired and then just left and immediately took a job in Durham, North Carolina as police chief, which would again lead me to believe what? Something else was probably unearthed. I don't know what that is. Depending on how much digging I choose to do, maybe I'll find out. So let's now get to the Red Dog unit. More details are coming out linking the Memphis police chief to the city of Atlanta. The West Tennessee police chief, Cyril and CJ Davis, worked with the Atlanta Police Department during the time a task force similar to this one used in the Tyree Nichols traffic stop was implemented here. When I heard about the Scorpion unit, the first thing I thought about was Red Dog, as of course the killing of Katherine Johnston, said Gerald Griggs, the president of the Georgia NAACP. Let me just see who Gerald Griggs is real quick. I just have to. All right, he black. I give him a pass. Johnston was the 92-year-old Atlanta resident shot and killed when an undercover tactical unit entered her home during a botched drug raid. Now, what I do want to go over is Katherine Johnston. And we do want to go back to what happened in the Katherine Johnston case. Let's pull this down for you guys following me on YouTube so I can let you see exactly what this says. On the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Atlanta narcotics officers Greg Junior, I guess, Junnier, Jason Smith and Arthur Tesler were under pressure to meet quotas for arrests and warrants. Again, I keep telling you, this is business out here. Like, everything is a market. The sooner you understand that, the quicker you understand that, the easier it'll be for you to comprehend what's going on around you. Officer Smith says that he was alone in the woods at about 2 p.m. when he found some baggies of marijuana and put them in his patrol car. Later, when the officers searched suspected drug dealer Fabian Sheets and found no drugs, Officer Smith planted baggies of marijuana from his patrol car on Mr. Sheets, and the officers threatened to arrest him for the marijuana unless Mr. Sheets gave them information that would lead to another arrest. And see, again, when I keep saying you'd be surprised how many innocent people are in jail, people just refuse to believe it. This is why I try and explain to women sometimes, you'll never understand what it's like to be a black man. Never. To just be walking down the street and a quota need to be met, and they will flip your whole world upside down just like that. To get out of going to jail for the drugs that had just been planted on him by the police, Mr. Sheets said that at 933 Mill Street, the home of 92-year-old Catherine Johnston, they would find a man named Sam and a kilo of coke. Phew. At 5 p.m., the police officers asked their career informant Alex White to help them by making an undercover cocaine purchase from Sam, but Mr. White was not available. So the officers lied on an affidavit, and by 6 p.m., they had secured a warrant from the courts to conduct a no-knock raid on Catherine Johnston's home based on false pretenses. And again, like I said, the same thing happened with Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend in the no-knock warrant. You don't knock, you don't know, don't nobody know what's going on. So of course you can ready to start dumping. It took officers less than 2 minutes to pry off the burglar bars and use a ram to burst into Catherine Johnston's home without announcing who they were. Just long enough for her to find her rusty .38 revolver to protect herself. And can you imagine a woman that age having to go grab a gun, feeling like I need to defend myself at that age? But again, all of this is starting because they're looking to meet a quota. Sometimes, again, I always tell people you don't realize how lucky you are to just make it home every day, to just be able to go to sleep every day. You don't realize how the wheels in life kind of move, how you stand at work 3 minutes longer may avoid you being in a car accident 20 minutes later. You going to the gym may avoid you being somewhere else. You going to pick up something may have you in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's how life works. A terrified Catherine Johnston fired one shot at the intruders but missed. The police officers fired 39 shots at Catherine Johnston, killing her with 5 or 6 shots throughout her body and hitting 3 fellow police officers with friendly fire. While the 92-year-old woman lay bleeding on the floor, the officers handcuffed her, searched her home, only to find no Sam and no drugs. As Katherine Johnston remained bleeding in handcuffs on the floor, the Atlanta narcotics officer decided to lie to their superiors and to the public. Planted 3 baggies of marijuana in Katherine Johnston's home and prepared 2 bags of crack, which they also illegally possessed, to claim that the informant had purchased them in her home. The officers asked Mr. White to corroborate their false story, but he refused and instead contacted the press, claiming that he feared retaliation from the police for refusing to lie. 3 weeks later, Officer Johnnier was the first to tell the truth. Now 2 officers have pled guilty to manslaughter and other charges. 1 officer has criminal charges pending, and 8 other officers have been suspended pending the FBI's ongoing investigation. Many feel that these horrors would have never been brought to light if Alex White had not reached out to the press in fear. Now, I mean, I'm gonna save this because I'm gonna do some more. I'm gonna do something else with that later. Now, however, Atlanta Councilman Michael Bond. Wait, let me get this off of here. Let's close this up. And let's go back to the Red Dog. However, Atlanta's council member Michael Bond said the Red Dog unit was dismantled after public outcry about 10 years ago. Steps have been taken to prevent similar incidents. What's obvious in Memphis is that there was no accountability for these officers because these are not tactics they just came up with that night, said Bond. Now, again, see that word right there, man. There was no accountability. See, that's the problem, which is why I told you there's just something seriously wrong with the Negro. They do not want to be held accountable for any of their actions. And once that happens, what do we get? You try and hold them accountable, what do? I don't know why you telling me such and such was here with me too. You ain't saying nothing to him. I'm not talking to him. You're talking about what you did. Yeah, but everybody should go down. And see, that's when I tell you. You understand there's a lack of leadership. And I can tell you there's a lack of leadership because everybody is always pointing everywhere else. And see, I always hear people say, when you point at somebody, there's usually 4 fingers pointing back at you. That's why I don't point like that. I point with all 5 fingers directly at you. Keep my hands out like my uncle used to do. All the way out. That way, all 5 fingers pointing at you, none pointing back at me. The conversation is on you, buddy. That's it. Conversation is on you. We just focused on what you're doing. But there'll never be any accountability, which is why I tell you these conversations that you guys are trying to have, they pointless. Nobody wants to ever be held accountable for anything. Everybody wants the leadership roles. And the second it's time to accept what the leader gets, guess what they tell you? It ain't my fault. I didn't do the shooting. Did you order them to? Yeah, then it's your fault. Is this your team? Yeah, then it's your fault. Are these your children? Did you raise these children? Yeah, it's your fault. At some point, you got to be held accountable, man. Davis' online bio with the MPD shows she led various tactical units, including the Red Dog during her time with the APD, a detail that worried Griggs. To learn that the latest iteration of the Scorpion unit was instituted by a chief that came from Atlanta, I thought back to what happened to the Titan unit and what about these other specialized tactical units that are happening all over the state of Georgia. So she left from the Red Dog. I got her resume. I deal with that probably tomorrow. But she left the Red Dog, went and created the Scorpion unit. This is her baby. She created this task force, which we'll deal with that tomorrow. That's where we at right now. 31 minutes. And I'm not doing 2-hour episodes. It's 8:36. It's not happening. But she created the Scorpion unit. And since you wanted to create that task force, you must be held responsible for that. You must be held responsible for what you created. See, all this Tyree Nichols thing has done now, for me, is now I just want to peek behind the curtain of what's going on in Memphis. What is the Scorpion unit really about? How many complaints? How many heads have been cracked? Because again, when I tell people, they love saying, you heard Selena Johnson say when I did the episode yesterday, since it was 5 black men on another black man, it wasn't police brutality. But again, like I told you, we understand already. The elevator don't go to the top floor, man. It does not go to the top floor. So it just is what it is. So, in addition to the more oversight of the local tactical unit, Bond said Atlanta officers have more training than most other departments, adding while many departments do 6 weeks of training, APD does 18 months. Now, again, I didn't look at that. I didn't want to look at that video. You know what? Let's just go ahead and knock it out, man. Forget it. I can do something else next time I record. We ain't even gotta come back to this subject. So we get to the New York Times article I read a few days ago. Scorpion unit emerged as Memphis police pursued get tough strategy. Same as the Red Dog. And who did they get to do this? This is your leader. Now, again, like I told you, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the woman leading. But what you don't get a pass for now is you don't get to shift the blame. You must now wear this L. Police Chief C.J. Davis. You must now be punished for your team's actions. You must be fired now, permanently. Never to be seen in a police uniform ever again. Because there are people who are saying they don't know if she was there in 2006. But what I will let, when Katherine Johnston was murdered, but what I will let you see is, again, for those who watching this, I'm going to take you to CJ Davis's resume. Deputy Chief Cyril and CJ Davis. This is the final resume she sent to the Durham, North Carolina Police Department when she became the chief. And what does it say from June 2006 to November 2007? Commander of a street level drug enforcement Red Dog unit to positively impact street level gang crimes and drug sales through aggressive crime fighting strategies in high crime areas citywide. This is her resume, not mine. Gang unit successful in developing high profile cases against principal actors to eradicate crime syndicate. Black Mafia family, BMF, and many other prosecutions under the Georgia Gang Terrorism Statute. Undercover operations of the High Intensity Drug Unit, the HIDTA, developing federal cases in regional drug interdictions, effecting several major regional drug arrests and seizures through federal RICO acts. Section commander of the APD SWAT helicopter motorcycle unit, coordinated specialized training and major operations to support field operations crime fighting initiatives. Acquired approximately $5 million in Homeland Security funds for explosive ordnance devices and critical infrastructure protection through GEMA and FEMA grants. So we're going to stop sharing that and go back. Now, that was me showing you she was there, and that was her unit when Katherine Johnston got murdered. But she wasn't punished. She wasn't punished then. She was fired for her cover up for Sergeant Crane, but rehired. Why was she rehired? I assume she probably know where some bodies buried inside of the APD. That's cool. Through all of that rehired, once she retired, there's no way she should have been hired as police chief in Durham or in Memphis. And had Memphis really did their due diligence, knowing she ran that Red Dog unit, knowing what she had been involved with in terms of covering up Sergeant Crane's husband's dealings with underage girls and even grade school, middle school age girls, there's no way she should have been hired. So why was she hired? You know what was going on in 2021. Y'all know. Black Lives Matter. And with that, again, your department can't be criticized if a black woman is leading it. I told you she is above critique. I hope you guys with this understand what I have been telling you for 2 years now, 2.5 years now. She is above critique, my man. So as long as she's there, guess what she's able to complain about? The legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, integration, welfare, feminism, LGBTQ, and now still having to be black in America. You can't, when you put her in front of your shield, what can you criticize? That's why she got the job. Now, Chief C.J. Davis of the Memphis Police had been on the job for only a few months in 2021 when she saw that the homicide numbers were rising toward a record near her new home downtown. Drivers were buzzing wildly through the streets, often late at night. She had a plan to confront the mayhem. I'm bringing the Red Dog unit back. For reckless driving, she told her team officers were to focus less on writing tickets and more on an all out strategy of seizing cars from the most dangerous drivers. Violent offenders are needed to be targeted with new urgency. What the hell does that mean? If the state could not take a case to court, she determined her agency should ask federal prosecutors to take the case instead. I told you who was your co conspirator in your own demise, but you just can't see it. This is why I told you I know something is wrong with the Negro. I'm going to keep sitting it in your lap until you understand it. Something is seriously wrong with you. This is why I told you you got Stockholm syndrome, man. You are in love with your captor and your abuser. Your so-called captor who enslaved you and your abuser, the woman who raised you. You Negroes are done, man. Ain't nothing else we can do, man. I'm telling you, it's about 30%. That's worth having a conversation with at this point. Besides that, that other 70%, give them that mile high salute, man. Give them the head nod and keep it moving. Those gremlins mean you no good, man. They mean you no good. See, I told you before when I made that correlation then about Gizmo. Gizmo was the grandmother, man. That was our grandmothers. The children that she had, those were the gremlins, man. And what was Gizmo doing? Just like our grandmothers was doing. She's sitting in the kitchen and he was just humming away. That was our grandmothers, humming and singing away, going to church, praying, because they know what they let loose. They knew what was coming down the pipe. And now it's here. And now that all of our parents' children are running wild and creating their children and they're running wild, everybody is doing what? They want to talk about slavery. They want to talk about if it was a father in the house. You slept with Pookie. You slept with Ray Ray. You chose him. That's what you chose. Don't come to me about it. You got this man on the other hand, he in my ear. Man, she left me and I'm on child support. I got this going on. I got this going on. None of her other baby fathers are taking care of their children, but she taxing me. You chose Jezebel. That's what you chose. You chose to sleep with that woman who had 6 kids and 4 baby daddies. You thought you could be Superman. So we all have that understand. Let's get back to the story. 2 days later, Chief Davis, the first African American woman to lead the department, which is why I keep telling you I know no change has really happened. We are now in 2023 and we're still having conversations as if these are things that should have happened in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s when they were screaming integration. We are now, well, this is 2021. You talking about this is the first African American woman to have this position. All of these things are token gifts to just be like, yo, we did this. She launched her ambitious strategy, a new police unit named Scorpion, or Street Crimes Operation, to restore peace in our neighborhoods. Would deploy some 40 officers as a strike team in some of the most volatile corners of the city. Now, that Scorpion unit has already been disbanded. Even all of the great work they've done, they've been disbanded that quickly. And you know why? Because they was crooked. But they disbanded them because they understand now that light might come shining in. So let's get ahead of all of this. Let's knock the unit down. Let's say we're aware of all of this and we're going to take it on the chin and hope nobody goes in to dig any deeper. Because there ain't no telling what you're going to find. Before long, some residents complained of heavy-handed tactics of officers from the new Scorpion team employing punitive policing in response to relatively minor offenses, which is why, again, with Tyree Nichols, she has to be held accountable. Even more now as I find this out than those 5 officers. This was her unit. And they doing the same thing that Red Dog unit she was in charge of did in Atlanta. And they doing the same thing. She's intimidating people now the same way they did when they killed Captain Johnston. And also when she covered up for her sergeant's husband with all these underage girls. She has to be punished. You have to send Chief C.J. Davis to prison. She has to. Then came the arrest and killing of Tyree Nichols in video footage released on Friday that showed how officers kicked, punched, and used a baton to beat Mr. Nichols as he pleaded with them to let him go home. With 5 officers charged with murder, community leaders are now trying to assess how a unit that was supposed to ease the violence in Memphis had instead inflicted an attack so brutal that Chief Davis herself called it heinous and inhumane. The city announced the disbanding of the unit on Saturday, and Chief Davis has called for a review of all her department's specialized units. I bet you will call for one. This is all par for the course, though. We still want crime addressed in our communities, but we don't need to kill innocent people to do it, said Van D. Turner Jr., a mayoral candidate who was president of the city's NAACP branch and who served on the recent mayoral advisory council for reimagining policing. The city had for months touted the Scorpion team as key to its crime-fighting strategy. Promoting it is nearly an overnight success at a time when the city was posting record homicide numbers. Memphis recorded more than 300 murders in 2021. By comparison, New York City, which is 13 times larger, had fewer than 500. So just a few days after the Scorpion unit was unveiled, one local television report noted that the Memphis police credited it with making more than 30 arrests, seizing at least 29 guns, and nearly 170 grams of marijuana. Scorpion's supposed successes became a talking point for city officials. And you know why they say supposed? Because they can't verify them numbers. As she marked her 1-year anniversary on the job in May of 2022, Chief Davis gave a presentation to the city council in which she noted some progress in curtailing crime. In a slide titled Crime Reduction, the Scorpion unit was her first bullet point, her baby. I want people to know this is what I did. Now, I would tell you that she's a narcissist, but I'm pretty sure about her behavior at this point and how everything is about her. You guys can understand. You guys know that already. We created the new Scorpion unit, she said, adding, this unit basically targets some of the hotspot areas where we saw frequent aggravated assaults and high crime. Those numbers, Memphis has seen in homicide numbers jump in 2020 and 2021. The numbers eased somewhat last year, but it was not clear how much credit could be given to the Scorpion unit, as many cities also saw declines in 2022. Memphis recorded a rise in property crimes last year. Some activists and community members had been wary about the operations of the Scorpion unit long before the attack on Mr. Nichols. Hunter Dempster said on Sunday that the organization has long been warning about the Scorpion team, said that the unit's main mission had appeared to be conducting mass pullovers in poor neighborhoods that are home to people of color. Backbone of the community, remember that. He described the officers in the unit as violent bullies and said many residents had also questioned why the unit often used unmarked vehicles, regular cars that you would never think were police. In any case, he said people were prepared for trouble whenever a Scorpion unit conducted a traffic stop. Again, that's why she has to go. You have to fire her. This is a monster who you have in control of another police department. Now, again, how she got it, I'm still baffled. Because just like I got access to this, they got even more access. They got all of the devil in the details. And from what I'm reading, there's no way she would run any police department I was in control of. If you get pulled over, you know that there's potential for violence, he said. That's how terrified the general public is of these units, which means already leading up to this, they had already been cracking heads. There are people out here already who's had their heads cracked by them. They just didn't die. The Scorpion unit was designed to saturate under the guise of crime fighting. And what it wound up doing instead was creating a continual pattern and practice of bad behavior, he said. The lawyer said that they had heard of other cases before Mr. Nichols' death in which the Scorpion unit had used excessive force. Now, again, I want to tell you this so you hear this and hear this good. You can scream defund the police, you can do all of that. But the question you still gonna have to ask is it nature or is it nurture? Who has created the environment and the temperature in these foul, violent neighborhoods that these units even have to be created in the first place? See, that's what nobody want to talk about. Because I'm telling you, you could put police in well-to-do neighborhoods and they never would have to worry about anything. And you could just leave the impoverished neighborhoods to themselves. They'll kill each other off. But then they'll be screaming what? Then they'll be singing 911 is a joke again. So you can't win for losing one way or the other with this. You'll never solve the problem. The problem can only be solved by better parenting. But since, again, the Negro refuses to be held accountable, for his parenting as a father and as a mother, you can forget about it. Ain't gonna be no accountability. It's always systematic racism. It's always the white man's fault. It's always slavery. It's always, I just got dealt a bad hand. It's never what they did wrong. It's everybody else's fault. So the city had been dealing with drag racing and stunt driving on a Saturday night in late November. All four lanes of traffic were blocked on Interstate 240 when two drivers began doing donuts on the highway. With the number of onlookers recording the activity on their phones, local officials used the incident as ammunition to call for more legal leeway to seize violators' cars. The police say they stopped Mr. Nichols on the night of January 7th on suspicion of reckless driving, though Chief Davis later told NBC News that the department had been unable to find evidence for why he had been stopped. Video showed officers surrounding Mr. Nichols' vehicle at an intersection, cursing at him and pulling him out of the driver's side door. Mr. Nichols spoke in calm tones, seemingly trying to de escalate the situation as officers continued to curse and yell. After police officers beat him, he was eventually taken to the hospital in critical condition. Mr. Nichols died 3 days later. And see, this is a conversation I just was having with my wife about her saying, take the guns away. It doesn't really matter. Violent savages will behave violently whether they have a gun or not. In the wake of the announcement on Saturday that the unit would be disbanded, some city officials said they wanted to take a look at what marching orders the unit was given when it was created. We were all tripping over ourselves to give them compliments because we have a violent crime problem and drag racing problem, said one member of the city council, Worth Morgan. But it was done under the pretext that they would protect and serve and not violate anyone's rights. And these officers did in a hugely problematic way, which means what? Somebody ass is getting ready to get handed to them. Now, I'm pretty sure as I'm talking about this, you'll start to see more and more breadcrumbs start to fall out about Police Chief C.J. Davis's former life. Oh, they gonna nail her to the cross. And I also want you to watch everybody who has defended her. Watch how they'll come out and say, I didn't know. And you know why they didn't know? Because the Negro doesn't read. Something is wrong intellectually with the Negro. He's not wired right. He's just not. See, I want this to be a woman hating thing. No, everybody gonna get it now. Something is seriously wrong with you. There's no escaping you. You can't say good morning to you without you getting a mean mug and a from you. You can't say good afternoon. You can't pick up somebody's trash next door when you mowing your lawn. You can't, hey, can you mow their lawn? You can't do nothing nice for the Negro without him always giving you his ass to kiss. This is just how he operates. Everything is so aggressive. Everything is the turn up. Everything is okay. They wore thongs. I'm coming out here naked. Everything is I'm an outdo to get more attention than the last generation. Well, guess what you hear now? Front center, social media for everybody to see. But guess what? Smile. You're on camera and you're being recorded, and the cameras ain't turning back off. This will all be documented. This will all be historical reference for people in generations and generations from now. And they'll come back and ask one important question. I have the answer. And you want me to tell you what that question is? What was wrong with the Negro? It's your boy, the Hood Nerd. I'm out.